Abramowitz here, and I help learning experience designers craft engaging, immersive learning experiences. Okay, so the piece here that I wanted to talk to you about today is when you're actually designing your own interactive learning episode, one of the things you want to do is obviously work with an expert or a practitioner or somebody who's in the field, right? But a lot of people struggle with this because they don't know the frameworks or the system to be able to actually engage with this person who is a practitioner in the right way to get the right information from them in order to be able to put together a script for an interactive story. So let me walk you through in a big picture overview of how this works in my framework, so that maybe this is something that if you want to learn more about, you want to maybe schedule a call with me. So we have here at the very beginning, I wanted to maybe talk about the big idea, the prism. I call this the prism. And so what happens is at the very beginning, when you're starting your project, you really have a whole bunch of ideas that have come from the business, that have come from people saying these are the major competences for this person. Who do they need to be at the end of this scenario? What's the transformation that needs to happen? And a lot of times when you're thinking about this, because it's coming from the business and kind of away from the context of the real job, it can be quite high level, and it might not be accurate. So one of the things that you really learn to really cultivate throughout this process is getting good at letting go of your darlings, right? I think Stephen King called it kill your darlings, because you're coming up with ideas, but you are just testing them. So you're okay throughout this process to come up with ideas and then just let them go if they don't prove to be accurate. You're really applying the scientific method here. You're testing things and seeing how they work out, right? So in the very beginning, you might have tons of big ideas that you think the transformation that somebody needs to go through from the beginning to the end of your module. But what would happen is through the conversations that you have with your field practitioners, your big transformation might actually be something else. So for some projects, it might be that somebody's not confident at asserting themselves in front of a bully, to somebody who realizes that they are in charge of their emotions and are able to make that decision in the moment very effectively. Another one might be that somebody's not very culturally competent, and they're coming in with anxiety about making the process as fast as possible. But then at the end, they realize that in some contexts, building rapport takes a bit of time, and to let that time pass in order to build trust and confidence from the people you're trying to negotiate with. So those are ideas of transformation. That's a big idea that also permeates then the entire interactive episode that you're designing. Whether the person reflects in the moment, whatever's happening, whatever feedback you give, it actually ends up reflecting this big idea that you're sharing, this overarching idea that happens. So you're talking to your subject matter expert in the very beginning, this practitioner, this person who really what you're doing is narrative inquiry. You're trying to find out exactly the reasons behind why things are done. And so what happens is we use a specific script that gives us a framework how to approach that interview, how to talk to this person without them really feeling bogged down with your project, and them probably not knowing anything about e-learning and interactive episode design. Now they don't have to, because your questions are guiding them to give you all the information you need to design an engaging experience. Now, the other thing it does is it gives you confidence, because a lot of times you walk into those meetings, this is an expert, you don't know, what they're going to uncover, what's going to happen, but the questions give you a framework to be very confident about the jumping off point for that conversation, and you know exactly what you're going to ask at every step to produce something really awesome. Now, the other thing that's going to happen is you're going to have an outcome of this. It's going to be a transcript. The transcript is going to give you a whole bunch of ideas of where the problems lie. What are some the key decisions that somebody needs to make? Because as we know, the most interesting and interactive thing we can design is something where somebody gets to make decisions, right? That's great. So that's what we're looking for. Decisions, problems. We're also looking for some emotions. Anytime there's an emotion wrapped around a problem, that usually means that there's something important going on there. And if somebody doesn't feel something about a decision they're making, that means it's probably not a very important decision. However, if there is an emotion that's tied to it, those are great. So you want to capture those. Then, after that, you put together a single page overview, which we call kind of the beat sheet. And the beat sheet, what it does is it has these little juicy beats identified. And a beat is simply a decision or a problem or a situation that will be the premise of our scenario. Once you've got those captured, which really at this point, they are very juicy and you're like, I want to dig more into these because I think these are going to make my great decision scenarios for me. Then you talk to your perfect candidate that you've sorted from your experts that is really, this is a person who's really good at sharing emotions, feelings, and ideas. So one of the things you're going to do is at this point, I call this the primed interview because you have now all these specific ideas that you've distilled from the first information, from the first situation. And what you're going to do is now get them to tell you more about these specific ones that you've selected. So that's exactly what you're working towards. And this is lightning bolts because what you're looking for is charged situations that are emotion full, right? And consequences there actually mean something. They're actually impactful. So this second kind of, you're the filter that's deciding which things are actually going to make it to this next phase, this next cut. And after this person gives you all of these details about your specific ones that you've pulled out, then you are ready, my friends, to go to script writing and write your amazing interactive learning episode script, and also the interactive script, which will show whoever you're working with as far as developing this in software, where the decisions lie and where those decisions lead somebody who's working through your interactive episode. So I hope that was helpful. And this process is definitely, obviously, the big picture version of what we do, and there's more guidance along with this. But if this is something that you want to dig into more, you want to become pro at this, and this is something that you want to add to your skill set and your career bucket, then definitely book a strategy session with me. I'll put a link underneath the video. And what will happen is, really the idea is for me to help you figure out where you're at and if this is something you want to really get awesome at and implement in your projects. And if it is, then that's something we can discuss and maybe I can help you. So I hope you have a fabulous rest of the day. I hope this was helpful, and I hope to talk to you very, very soon. Take care. Bye.